Good morning, everyone. Once again, we are at Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time, and you have tuned into, if you're watching, if you managed to catch it right at the beginning, this is our Listening with Your Eyes LinkedIn Live. I am Allison Henderson, your host and body language expert. And today I am really excited about our topic because it still rears its ugly head, if it has an ugly head. And I am not, I'm not like depressed about it. I'm not concerned about it. However, I am looking at things in a slightly different way, which is why I thought that we should look at the idea of gender and body language because I'm still hearing from uh, clients and tribe members and those of you out there that there is still a feeling that is or advice that is pervading when it comes to our year-end reviews and things like that, or when people are responding to presentations and things. Now, I will say, particularly female clients tend to come at me with these questions often, more often than men. However, I still think the gender question, obviously it has two sides. There are two genders, and so what I'm often asked about is, man, I'm so sick and tired of being told to act like a man, or uh, my uh, my partners are telling me that I need to be more masculine in the courtroom, or that I should dress more masculine, or I should, um, it's that whole idea of like pulling up your big girl panties and that sort of thing. And I've talked a lot about the difference between male behavior habits and female behavior habits, and the good things about both. And for a while, I still think there are times when you do draw on that information, where you do uh use a little bit more masculine habit in order to be heard in certain situations. And when that works for you, that is fantastic. My concern is that there are a lot of people out there who are really inconsistent with how they're showing up in the world because they are acting differently in different situations in front of different people. And when they kind of forget how they show up with these different groups of people, suddenly they don't seem authentic, or there's something strange, like what's going on with Allison today? She seems a little odd because I've maybe shown up more as myself than I have in my drawing from some kind of masculine energy. So how do we do this? How do we merge those two worlds together? The idea that there is a masculine and a more feminine way of moving, and sometimes it helps us to take on some of the characteristics of those two sides, but yet we still want to remain authentic and organic and natural in who we are. Please put in the comments if I've lost you, if this is becoming a little bit too complicated, if I need to go back and explain again. So here's the first thing that we need to do today. This is your first part of your exercise. Grab a piece of paper and think about where you think you fall in the kind of behavioral habits of the gender that you identify with. That means if you feel like you tend to be more feminine, or you enjoy doing what people consider to be more feminine things. Maybe you enjoy. For me, I like to dress up. I like to wear dresses when I am out speaking or consulting and things. I just, a dress and heels. It's fun. It gets me in a good mood. I love prints. Obviously, sometimes you draw on the animal print if you feel like you need to have a little bit more oomph behind what you say. But so on, just write down a number on a scale of 1 to 10. Where do you think you might fall? So for me, I probably fall in maybe a 7 or 8 range. I'm not completely always like, I can go out of the house without makeup on. I do enjoy flats up until I get on stage, and then I switch to the heels, those types of things. So there is a level of and it doesn't only have to do with dress, obviously, but I do think I project more of a feminine energy. I think that my movement style is definitely more on the feminine side than the male side. But I have other people that I know and clients that I've coached and things that fall a little bit more. They lean a little bit more masculine. And some of that is definitely nurture over nature. Depending on how long different clients have been in very male dominated industries, they tend to have more characteristics of the dominant gender in their industry. And that is simply because, right, as if it's women, we've had to figure out how to talk to and rise up within the ranks of a very male dominated industry, perhaps. And that's where a lot of these questions come from, are those male dominated industries. But the same thing can happen for men as well. Or if there are some men that I've worked with grew up in a house full of women because they had 5 sisters and they were the only boys. So they tend to have somewhat of a more feminine energy, or sometimes they've gone the opposite way because maybe they were roiling against all of the femininity in their house, so they became very masculine. They did all the sports things, so they became very macho and lift weights and all of that sort of thing. So figure it out for yourself. Where do you lie on this scale? It's just a number for you to think about. Maybe you've never thought about it before. Do you behave? Do you think that your body language and your energy and your true nature coincides closer to the gender that you identify with or further away? Okay, I'm gonna grab my coffee. Okay, so that's step number 1. And while you're thinking about that, I just want to say that I do think, and I've been doing a lot of studying recently on the neuroplasticity of the brain and how the brain is constantly making new circuits and really can evolve and change. And so when you think that you can't evolve or behave differently, that really isn't true. You really can learn it. You have to be invested in changing behavior, but it certainly can happen. And so I really think that this neuroplasticity in the brain and how everything is evolving culturally, that we are going to be able in the next, maybe not 5 years, but I think for sure 10 years down the road, that we won't need to be having these conversations so much anymore. Because for one thing, the older generations that prescribe more to this idea of being feminine or masculine, or taking on the people within society that are coming down on others and saying, oh, you need to, put your pants on and you need to be more masculine, or the opposite. Well, you're working with a bunch of women, like, let's leave a little bit more of the machoism at the door and let's try to relate to all of the women in the office. I think we're going to get a little bit further away from that because gender identity and all of that is going to, I don't know whether you want to say smooth the edges, but I think it's going to become more accepting that however we show up as authentic people is what's really important. And that's where your influence is going to come in. That is where you're going to make more sales. That is where you are going to rise within the company, is because there's a real groundedness and authenticity in who you are, male or female, no matter your rank, no matter anything. So there is hope for those of you that maybe are younger, are just entering the workforce, and you're like, oh, this is awful. Hang out for a little while. It's going to get better. Okay, so that was the first part. It's just where you land on the scale. The second thing that I want you to do is think about a time where you really felt strong and had fun and enjoyed yourself and felt like you were really channeling your gender identified energy. So for women, a time where you were like, I was the bomb that day, right? I felt so put together and awesome, and like I was really being me, and it was just fantastic. It could have been a presentation that you were giving. It could have been at a party you were at. It doesn't matter. And it could be a long time ago that these memories have to come from. And that's the beauty of this neuroplasticity and how our brains work, is that our brains have kept all of those memories in there, and we can use them at will, and we can draw on them. And so the first step is to identify when those moments were. So jot down situations or moments or events in your life where you felt really powerful and authentic in your and maybe leaned more masculine, and then really strong and powerful and leaned more feminine, both sides. Because that's what we're talking about, is when you're with the opposite gender, one of the ways to ingratiate yourself or to have influence in things is to pull on that side of yourself. So it's not behaving in a different way. It isn't putting on a false persona, which is the problem that we've really had when it comes to presentation coaching and body language and things like that. That's been the problem, is we've been teaching or giving people quick fixes, which are well, add this mannerism or do this thing, or this means this is a powerful signal, and that's too many rules, that's too many things, that it takes you out of your authenticity. What you need to be thinking about are times in your life that you can draw on. Oh, I remember when I felt this way, and what did that do to your body? How did you act differently? And you draw on those authentic experiences from your life to color your behavior today. Let me give you an example. When I was in my early 20s, we're talking back in the good old college days, I didn't really, I didn't know anything about this, like male or female or whatever. I mean, you just were, right? When you're in college and when you're figuring out who you are, you try a lot of things and you just kind of are. Well, I was a lot more forceful, and I was, it held my ground and said things that now I'm like, wow, I said that to a professor, or I really pushed for what I wanted back then, because I guess maybe it was kind of like going for broke. I mean, what did you have to, what was going to happen, right? It didn't feel like as pressured as today, where, ooh, are you going to lose that client, or are you not going to get this other client, or those kinds of things that are on us. So when I was in my 20s, I really stood up for myself. I created opportunities. I did so much stuff that now it's like, man, I wish I could get back to that person, right? I wish I could channel that girl that uh, went to the head of her department. And when we were talking about who I was going to be working with on this special project my senior year, and there was a certain other professor in the college that I did not get along with. In fact, pretty much ended up getting him fired. Okay, not standing up for yourself. And I just looked at her and I said, "Do you think you and I can work together? I think we need to." So they hired somebody from the outside to come in and work with me on this project because I actually stood up for myself, and I didn't, say, "Oh, I'm just gonna swallow it and deal with it and work with it." Now, you may not always have the chance to do that in your workplace, where you could just say, "Well, you know what, we need to hire a consultant because I don't get along with Bill." That may not be, but the gumption I had, I guess, at the time to stand up for myself is something that I need to remember and I need to go back to. So that would be an experience where, I felt really powerful, not necessarily masculine, but, felt very much owning my own power and owning my voice and owning uh, the situation. So I need to go back to thinking about, so what was I doing? What mindset was I in? Why was I able to do that then and not so much now? Or why do I put the brakes on now? So do you see how this works? It's like psychology and neuroscience, because that memory was in there, as well as behavior. It's all together. And so that would be, more of that kind of situation. There's also plenty of experiences in my life where I leaned into my feminine side as well, where I, felt strong and powerful as female too. So those are the things that you need to be thinking about. And that's the kind of thing that I'm really excited to start exploring with the group in the True to You program, which starts in June. June. Which will be starting in January. I am taking applications right now to find the right group of individuals where we're going to do some of this stuff. We're going to figure out and really find the power in your voice and your movement. Remember, it's not just going to be movement itself, but movement affects our voice. And when we are powerful and centered and authentic in our movement, we are also going to bring that into the voice. So it really works together. If you've been thinking that you need to work on powerful vocal skills, but you're giving this presentation and you feel like you don't know what to do with your hands, well, this is the kind of program that is for you, because it's both pieces. If you're in the next year you're going to have presentations that are really important for your business. You are going after bigger clients. You are working with the board more. Perhaps you've been promoted or you're going after that promotion and you want to be seen and heard and influential within your company. The True to You program is where you need to be, because whether you are within a corporation or whether you're a solo entrepreneur makes no difference. It's just who's in the room with you might be different between people, but the work that we need to do is the same, and the work that we need to practice on each other. That's why it needs to be a group program. Not just, I can work with you one-on-one, but you will never make the same strides or as quickly as when you work in a group program, because conversation is a two-way street, and only practicing with me doesn't get you as far. And that's why the True to You program has been designed to be a group program. You get one-on-one time with me and the group instruction and group practice, so that it's real life practice. It's very difficult to take the lessons that we do one-on-one and then go practice them right away in your day-to-day, in the meetings that you're leading that are real and that have consequences and things like that. So that's why you practice on other people. You practice observing their behavior. You practice changing your language to fit their behavior that you see in them, so that you have more influence, so that you convince them. And then we get feedback from everybody as well. We get feedback on, wow, yeah, I totally would have said yes to you because you were in the zone and you felt you were really strong. There was a lot of influence. I felt very taken care of as the potential client, or as the board member, or um, as the subordinate, right? We can talk about difficult conversations that you may have to have with your staff as well, right? Those review conversations that are awful. So all of that stuff, we can use the conversations that you're really having, that you need to have in the program. And it really is the jumpstart to the authenticity of finding you. And much of it will be virtual. If you happen to be close enough that we can meet in person, we can do a few of those in person, but there is so much that can be done virtually as well. So it doesn't have to be kept to that. So if this is at all interesting to you, I've rambled on for long enough this morning. Just go to the website at www.movingimageconsulting.com and check out the True to You program, and fill out the application, or send me a message that says, hey, I'm curious. I didn't really want to go as far as filling out the thing yet. Could we have a conversation? And we'll just schedule a 15-minute chat about what your needs are and whether this might be a fit for you, and whether the application process is something that you want to go through. I mean, it's filling out a survey of kind of like getting you thinking about what it is that you really want out of the program and things like that. And then we have an actual conversation. So it's not a really long application process, but we definitely want you to be the right fit for this type of program. And it might not be, or it very well might. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Think about gender for me. Send me messages or put things in the comments that where you kind of fall on this gender and authenticity continuum, I guess, and how it may be working for you or not, because I really think we need to change how we're looking at it. Once again, we don't need to be putting on a facade at different times with different people. We really have to figure out how to mold and shape our own behavior to always remain authentic and powerful. Have a great day. We'll see you next Tuesday, same time, same station.